Hi and welcome to the first video in this new SoundMegas music production videos course about compression. This course is a little bit different to most other compression courses out there because it covers a vast array of different things that compressors can do. So it's not just about the basic components of a compressor. So without further ado, let's get right into this first video, which is the basic components. Can't do the other stuff if you don't know them. Throughout the course we're going to be using the FabFilter Pro C. If for any reason I use another compressor for clarity of a specific point or whatnot, I'll put a link up to any demos that might be available. What is a compressor? Well, a compressor is basically an automatic gain control, and the output of the compressor pretty much varies depending on the input signal. So you send a signal into the compressor, you use the compressor to adapt that signal for whatever reason, which means that the output will be varied. So it might be the same or pretty close to the original incoming signal, it might be totally different. So what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about threshold, ratio, attack, release and output, or makeup gain. What does the threshold do? Basically, the threshold reduces the amplitude of the incoming signal when the threshold has been breached or passed. So what does that mean? Let me just put this to minus 20 dB. Now, this section here shows you the compressor working, this section here shows you the input signal, and you've got an input, an output and a gain reduction. Now at the moment, even though I put the threshold up to minus 20, nothing happened here, because the threshold's directly related to the amount of ratio. What is ratio, I hear you say? Well, basically the ratio is the tool or the parameter that sets the amount of compression. By that I mean, if this is set to 2 to 1, as you can see it is there, basically if the incoming signal passes the minus 20 dB threshold setting by 2 decibels, it will only allow 1 decibel through. If the ratio is set to 4 whenever the incoming signal passes 20 decibels, it will only, by 4 dB, so minus 16 in this case that would be, it will only allow 1 dB through. So the output signal would in fact be minus 17. Let's watch that in action. As you can see, I've just put it to hard knee. I'll tell you what knee is in a minute, so that you can see the point at where the compression starts. So we've got a ratio of 4 to 1. I'm just going to press play and then you'll see a drum loop being fed in here. Okay, what are you seeing there? The grey signal is the original input. The kind of orange signal is the output after the compression settings that are set here have taken place. And the red line is the amount of gain reduction that's happening. It's showing you that there. Over here we've got everything below this knee here, everything below there doesn't get compressed. Everything over there gets compressed by the ratio of 4 to 1. So basically if you look, it's set to minus 20, so that point there is minus 20. And with a 4 to 1 compression, it goes to 15. So 20 minus 15 is 4. There's 4 5s and 20. So there's the maths of it, if you like. Now if we look over here, we can see that the signal is being reduced by about minus 13 dB. Now I'll show you how to sort that out in a minute. Let's see which each part does on its own. So we have our threshold setting here. Now it's set to minus 20, so the input signal's coming in, it's getting to minus 20 and it's been compressed by the ratio amount, which you can see here, and you can see the gain control taking place. What that's in fact doing is controlling the dynamic range of the sound. Now, as you can see, the grey section is way up here at 0, and then it's been compressed so that you can see the output, which is way down here around -12. Now, from 0 to -12 is your dynamic range. So, we've got a nice piece of compression going on here with the threshold and ratio. Basically, we're using the threshold and the ratio settings here to control the peaks. That's what we're doing. Now, it's quite a severe piece of compression, so we could in fact bring the ratio down a bit. Could even bring the threshold down a bit and put the ratio back up. Now, as you can see there, the difference between the input and the output isn't very much. So what we're actually doing there is using the threshold and the ratio to contain these peaks. As you can see, we've made the threshold much lower, so -8. So it's really only capturing any of the real high transients or the high peaks in the volume level and taming them back. And as you can see, we've got a much smaller dynamic range now. Okay, so once you've set up your threshold and ratio, that's great. Would you believe there's actually some compressors that only have threshold and ratio? They're a bit more complicated than that, but you really only need that. However, we do have 3 other settings that I want to teach you. So, first of all, we have the attack setting. Basically, the attack is the amount of time that it takes for the compressor to initialize once the threshold has been breached. So once the incoming signal, as soon as it surpasses -8, depending on this setting here, is how long the compressor takes to kick in. So at the moment it's at 0.5 milliseconds, so soon it's pretty much instantly. So the compressor, the incoming signal gets to here, and the compressor immediately latches on to that incoming signal, which is great for taming peaks, but it will also crush the transients of drums and anything else that has a really fast transient or a fast attack, so be aware of that. This is called a fast attack setting. With a slow attack setting, which is up here, this will allow the transients to pass. It's a much more natural setting, but depending on what you want it for, of course, whether you need a fast or a slow attack, and I'll just show you that working. Okay, so listen to the transients, listen to the attacky sounds of the kick and the snare and stuff. Okay, so around here we've got 500 milliseconds, so it's taking, the incoming signal breaches the threshold, and then 500 milliseconds after that, that's when the compressor starts to work. So as you can see, it's pretty much nothing happening. So you can hear the full signal really. Now as we bring it round, the time that the compressor takes to activate is shorter and shorter, so you should start to hear the punchiness of the kick and the other attacky sounds in the drum loop start to fade away. Okay, so you can hear them getting slightly softer there. And there's actually a graphical representation. If you watch the gain reduction, the red line, you'll see there pretty much everything's getting through, nothing's getting compressed, and as we turn it round, you'll see the transients start to be coming, they're starting to get tamed, they're starting to be compressed. There you go. Okay, I'll show you a more obvious way of seeing that happen, and I'll just put a really high threshold in and max out the ratio, and then we'll bring the attack right down. I'll bring the attack back in slowly and listen to what happens. You'll start to hear a click as the compressor starts to work faster and faster, hence only letting a small part of the actual sound get through before the compressor kicks in. Okay, so that's pretty much like the complete bass loop. Now listen. There it is. Can you see it here? Feel it starting to pump? Hear it starting to pump? And it's only letting that short amount of time through before it starts compressing. So as you can hear there, we've killed the drum loop completely. The transients are all gone. Sounds like it's way in the background now. So as you can see, the attack's very important, especially in drums, things like that. Okay, next on to the release. Let me just put the threshold and the ratio back to a more sensible setting. Okay, what's the release? The release is basically how quickly the compressor stops working once the signal, the incoming signal, falls back below the threshold. So this part here, once that incoming signal comes up, gets to there, bang, it gets compressed, it goes up and jumps back down. As soon as it gets to there, the release tells the compressor to stop compressing. So let's have a look at that. And it's very easy to see. If we can see it on this section here. Okay, as you can see, very fast release, so press and it jumps straight back to 0. See that? Now if we turn that up, watch what happens. Slowly, there, it's working slower. Now you can see it, it's trying to get back. If we bring it up here, it never returns, and you can see that happening there. Now what's happening here is, because we've got a quick attack and a really long release, the compressor isn't actually ever stopping working. So you're actually losing compression on the transients. It's not working as efficiently as it should. If we bring this back down, you'll see it starting to... That's better. There we go, it's getting back to normal, it's getting back to 0, so it's compressing. And what's happening there is, the transient's coming in, it's compressing, it's shooting right back up to 0 in time to compress the next transient. So what you're really looking to do with the release is use it in time to the music, so that you get it working properly. So you just time it with your music or whatever it is that you're compressing, so that you can get that working properly. That's cool. So you can see there, very obviously, it's never returning to 0. There, it's almost on all the time. Look. So the compression is just constantly on, and you're not getting any dynamic range through really. But if you bring it down, and obviously have sensible ratios and stuff, there you go, you can see it's getting back. It's just catching the peaks. Nice. Okay, so that's threshold, ratio, attack and release. That leaves us with the knee setting, and the knee setting's pretty much self-explanatory. If you look here, this is what's known as a hard knee. Basically, what this means is, as soon as the signal gets there, it's grabbed immediately. It's hard compression, it's immediate, it's fast, it's instant. Whereas we have a soft knee, as you can see, the compression takes place over a softer, longer period of time. So it's a softer type of compression. It's not as abrupt and as fierce as the hard knee. And we also have an output level. So let's do a bit of work on this drum loop. And let's do some work on it just to get it nice and punchy. So we're going to use the the threshold. And for talk's sake, we'll put it to -20. And ratio, because it's drums, I'll put it to about 4:1. So we're getting a lot of compression. I'm going to put it hard knee. So as you can see, we're getting a lot of compression there. It's kind of pumping a little bit as well. So there may be too much compression going on there, because really we just want to tame the high peaks really. So we'll just bring that back down a bit. That's about enough, I would say. Now we want to let plenty of the transients through because it's drums, so we'll just put a fast enough, but 10 milliseconds. That's fast enough to let the transients through, as you can see. Should we bring it round here? Let's be a bit more fierce with it, give it a bit more time so we definitely get the transients through, make it nice and punchy. So as you can hear, it's got punchier already. Take a listen. Okay, maybe you didn't hear that so much. Let's sort out the release time. So we want the release time to be very slow, but not too slow that it doesn't go back to 0. So we want the release time to be set in time with the loop. So we can turn it all the way up and just bring it down until we get it bouncing back in time with the beat. It's not enough. See, you can see? It's not bad, a little bit faster. I like it there. Okay, so we're looking at minimal. This is a really nice fine compression, and we've got about 2 to 3 dBs of gain reduction occurring. So we need to use the output level to reintroduce those lost decibels. So let's put it to 2. Okay, a little tip here. Once you've compressed and you reintroduce the gain reduction, it shouldn't be any louder than the original file. So all you need to do is just bypass until, just to make sure that's the case. Sounds a little bit louder to me. Maybe not. It's just actually a bit duller. You can hear the transients that are being compressed, especially in the hi-hats, but it's fine. I like that. Okay, so that's your basics of compression. So your threshold, your ratio, your attack release, and your output gain, or your makeup gain, or your output level. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.